super excited to share with you guys. So let me share my screen and we can just jump right in, and I'm going to make this a little bit interactive. Let me make this full screen. So I'm going to make this interactive. So have your phones ready. We're going to do a little bit of aha slides. I know we haven't done that in a few weeks. So, get ready to participate, more than just sitting there and taking notes. So let me know, is this coming on screen? Can you guys see this? Okay, perfect. So if you guys have read the book, Choose to Win, you're going to recognize this from the chapter number 2, which is called the Termite Philosophy, which is the fastest way to success is by replacing bad habits with good habits. And this really resonated with me because this is one of the things that I got out of Go Diamond Weekend was it's not about the major, it is going to be, you are going to make big decisions at big conferences, but oftentimes it's just the little changes that you make over a period of time that is going to change your business in a huge way. So this is something I would highly recommend. Again, Choose to Win by Zig Ziglar or Tom Ziglar, his son, because this book is really impactful and it talks exactly about the same mindset in the business. So the first thing I want to jump into is to kind of explain it. Changing one bad habit to a good habit is going to be essential in every aspect of this business for you to reach higher and higher levels. And if you really break it down to that simplicity, you will transform your business in a very short period of time. And when you look at it, there's two things that you want to do when you think of that phrase of bad habits and good habits is, bad habits, think of it as like if you're digging a hole, and you're just digging and digging and digging. And then good habits is when you start building a ladder. So the first thing that you want to do, the frame of mind that you want to get in is you want to stop digging, one. So you need to start to identify some of those bad habits that you have, some of those not, negative habits, negative association. And the second thing you want to do is you want to start building. You want to start building the good habits that we talk about in this business to move your business forward. Because it's not super difficult, but typically the reason why I see most people not progress in business or maybe not grow as fast as they can isn't because they aren't building, but it's because they're still digging. And it's very difficult to dig and build at the same time. And sometimes you dig so fast that even though you built maybe a few rungs of the ladder, you aren't even growing faster than you're going down. So very critical. And I want to kind of outline that today with a little bit of an interactive game of, stopping the bad habits and starting to build the good habits. So what I want to do is if all of you guys, so I want to make this interactive. If you guys could take out your camera and scan this QR code, or if you can't scan the QR code, you can just go to AHA Slides/BP training. So I'll give you guys a couple of seconds. I'm going to bring up the slides here so that we can start playing. And I just want to make this is going to be really quick. I just have two things I want to show you guys, but I want this to be a little bit interactive. I want to see some of you guys. So let me reshare my screen to the actual slides. Oh, wait, let me make this presenter mode so that you guys can actually see. So, okay, presentation mode. So we got about 37, 38 people. So again, take a picture of it, go to AHA Slides/BP training. I'll give you guys about another 20, 30 seconds so that we can get the number. I think we have 90 plus people. So, as long as we're over 60, 70, 80, we can keep going. So yeah, so we're going to dive in. Again, the topics that I want to cover very quickly, again, are going to be bad habits. So you can start thinking of your answers already. What are some bad habits that you feel that either you or somebody that you've worked with in business have had, and also the second question is we're going to talk about some good habits, some habits that maybe you can start doing, maybe some 9 core steps, things along those lines. So we got about 50, 59, 58 people. Again, keep your phone up refreshed so that way it doesn't log you out. So I'm going to get started. Again, if you want, maybe somebody can put it in the chat, the link, because once this QR code goes off, you can still get in just by using the link AHA Slides/BP training. So I'm going to go in and see if we can have this. So what I want you guys to do is type into the 3 responses. What are some bad habits that either you have had, this is anonymous, bad habits that you've had, or bad habits that you feel that people have had in the business that might relate to some new partners or existing partners or things along those lines. And hopefully as you start adding them and you click enter, some of them will pop up on the screen. I'm hoping that it starts working for us. So hopefully you guys are clicking it. Are you guys able to add? Okay, perfect. Overthinking, self-doubt, procrastination, too much social media. Okay, keep the answers coming. Bad association, holding into numbers, negative talk, binge watching TV, unhealthy eating. You can even throw in other bad habits. I mean, it's generally for the business, but you can throw in other bad habits, even like, if you want to talk about like working out or things like that. Speaking negative, watching TV, not reading enough, low self-image, being late. So again, for those of you that are new in business, those of you that are, really anybody in business, take a look and see, okay, are these some of the bad habits that you have? Start to be aware, because again, the first point of starting to build good habits, and one of the things that I learned from Go Diamond Weekend is you got to at some point make a decision to start moving forward. And if you don't analyze, if you don't look at yourself and say, okay, what are some of the habits that I'm doing that are taking away from my growth? It's going to be very difficult, because you can't some people like to just add this business into their life. And it becomes very difficult, because if you just add something into your life, but you keep all the negative that you're in, holding you down, you can try to be swimming, but it's going to you're not going to be able to keep swimming for very long. Eventually your bad habits are going to creep back in, so like I said, it's toxic family, lack of communication, camera off, sidetrack, things like that. So think, what are some of the habits that you have? What are some of the habits that you think? And again, this is something that I want you guys to reflect on for yourself, because one thing that you'll learn at all the in-person events and even these conferences and webinars is that the only person that you can change is yourself. No matter how much you want to help somebody else, no matter how much you want to impact somebody on your team, you can't make somebody do something they don't want to do. The only thing you can do is give them a good example. So you want to start to think, what are some things that are holding me back? What are some things that are stopping me from achieving my goals? And if some of these things are resonating, again, maybe you want to create, again, if you go through this book, he talks about it every single week, try to stop one bad habit and replace it with a good habit. So start to maybe implement those things in your life. What are some bad habits that you can stop, and just do it one at a time. Make a big list of all the bad habits you have and rank them in terms of what's the worst to what's the not so bad, and start to slowly work on them day in and day out. Because that's what you really need in this business, is you need to slowly change over a period of time. If you remain the same person you were forever, you're never going to grow to a very large level in this business. You might grow a little bit, but you need to start to grow and change and develop yourself. So great, those are some bad habits. So again, now let's go to the next slide. So now what are some good habits? If you think of, okay, well, what are some things that I need to do more of? Or what are some things that I'm really good at? Maybe it's, retailing, maybe it's reading books, maybe it's DTMing, or some of the 9 core steps. So why don't we, as you guys answer, start to think of some good habits that you can start to replace them with. Start to, I know one of the books, what's it called? Atomic Habits. It says pair a habit with a habit. So maybe you're having some struggle building these good habits. You know that you should be doing them, but you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I fit in reading? How do I fit in, retailing or positive self-talk? What are some things that you're already doing in your day that you can start to pair it with? Like for me, reading, I work remotely. So, once I actually just hurt my arm, but once I get back into the, as I was exercising, I would always go on a short little 5-10 minute run at lunch. And right after, I would come back and read 15-20 minutes of my book. Or, when I'm in the morning, I like to listen to audios while I'm doing work, or, reading books or doing my power hour. So start to think, what are some things that you can do? LinkedIn, people skills, retailing, reading, positive self-talk, connecting with people, faith, consistency. Again, new people and everybody, I would just say, start writing some of these things down. What are some things that you think you need to work on? What are some things that you're already good at? And start to visualize, okay, how can I decrease some of the bad habits and add some of the good habits? Because no matter what level in business you're at, whether you're at 100 PV or you're at platinum or emerald or diamond, what's going to take you to the next level isn't just going to be, okay, let me stop doing these bad things, but what can I start to fill in with these good habits that I can get better and better and better at? So core habits, being a cheerleader of people, streaming, self-talk, dropping the message, BWWTV, saying hi. So again, start to write some of these things down. 2 new MG1s every week, drawing out your org chart. That's a huge one. Move to action, communicate with upline, promoting the products. Again, start to think of some things, changing your eating habits for somebody that wants to, I guess, eat more healthy, book reading, being positive, willing to learn, having courage. Again, these are some of the things as you look at these are some of the things that, again, these might be really, really good questions that you can bring to Diamond Summit and say, okay, here's a couple of challenges I'm having. Here's a couple of good habits I want to develop, and ask your upline, hey, can you introduce me to somebody, some platinum, some emerald, some diamond in the business that has overcome this challenge? That's a really great question to ask. I remember I actually at Go Diamond Weekend, I texted a few partners on my team and I said, hey, who are some of your favorite speakers and what are some questions you want to get answered? And I took it upon myself to say, okay, let me go out and seek people who can answer some of these questions, because obviously I know that, being their coach, I can help them, but there's some things that are my blind spots. Maybe I'm not as good at certain things. And I know that somebody that just got recognized on stage is really good at these activities. So I took it upon myself to go and find people that I could speak to. So now that you guys are coming to Diamond Summit, bring some of these questions with you. What are some areas you want to keep improving in as far as good habits? Maybe you do use the power of spoken word, but you want to do it a little bit better. Or maybe you're really good at retailing, but you want to learn how to do more retailing. I can guarantee you, if you're looking for how to increase retailing, dropping the message, adding people to your network, you will see on stage people that have done thousands of PV in 1 month personally, and people who have launched 10 people in 30 days or 10 people in 90 days and things like that. So when you see people on stage at these conferences, take note of who that is and try to find them after the conference. Try to go ask them a question. How did you do this? What changed? You were somebody I remember on stage was 2,500 PV 2 years ago, and now they're an Emerald qualification. So I took it upon myself to go and seek that person out. What happened? Like, what changed from where you were 2 years ago to the person you are now? How did you transition? And those people are going to start to give you hope. Sometimes you might just see people on stage like Kanti Gala, Vishal, Kumar, who are like so big in business, been retired for 20 years. Like I said, sometimes the biggest tips that you get is going to be somebody that's just a little bit ahead of you in business. Somebody who just went Eagle, who just went Eagle Plus, just went Silver in business. Sometimes those are the people that you can relate to even more than the diamonds, because they're the ones that are kind of growing, that you guys are kind of running buddies together. So take note of some of these good habits that you guys have developed, and, bring these questions to Diamond Summit, because I guarantee you, if you come looking for information, you will get your money's worth. I can definitely say that without a shadow of a doubt, but again, it's all about you. Like I said in the plan, it's all about you. If you come with a very negative expectation, you're just like, I'll go have a little bit of fun, leave right after, not really engage much, you'll get some out of the conference. But if you come ready to learn, ready to move, it'll be a life-changing event. Every diamond, if you hear their story, the turning point in their business came at a big function. It came when they were like, you know what? I need to be up on stage. I need to be there to help my upline or to move on. So these are some of the things you want to start finding people out and asking them, how did they move on? So I hope that helped. I think that's all I have to share as far as aha slides. And I'm going to pivot back to the presentation. So thank you so much, guys, for sharing and participating a little bit. So I'm going to exit that out and go to the next slide. So, okay, so as we wrap up, for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to bring up a couple of people to kind of talk a little bit about some of the habits. But again, like I said, basically, the good habits that you want to start to develop is start to look at the 9 core steps. This business is very, very simple, and we lay it out very, very obvious for all of you guys. What are the habits that you want to develop? It's the habit of creating volume, building your network, personal development. It's not rocket science. It's not like you have to come up with some new way of building the business. These 9 simple things are the areas that you want to start to improve in. Now, within these areas, there's places that you want to get better at and dive deeper into. That's where the conferences, the webinars, the huddling with your uplines, that's where you're going to get a lot of help, because you need to learn how to develop some of these skill sets and kind of dive a little bit deeper. So again, these are some of the good habits that you want to develop and work on. And what I want to do is, I want to stop sharing right now, and I want to bring up a couple on my team, Carlos and Christy. They're kicking butt in business. I know they actually just moved into a new home in Clarksburg. So Carlos and Christy in Clarksburg. So it looks like they really like the letter C. So what I want to do is I want to have Carlos and Christy, if you guys could start, I guess just share with the team. Again, one of the first aspect of the 9 core steps is obviously creating volume. So I know a lot of people just got recognized and things like that as far as moving on, as far as pins. So I guess if you guys could share with the team for a couple of minutes, what are some habits that you guys created around volume, or as new partners in the business, or as you started to develop your habits, like what did you do to create volume? Because there's obviously a lot of people on the call who want to do, I know you guys have done 500 PV for the last so many months, so what can somebody do to take their business from 100 personal PV to 150 to 300 and ultimately up to 500 and beyond? What did you guys do so you guys can share it with the team? So I'm going to pass it over to Going Eagle, Carlos and Christy.
Yes, thank you, John. Again, we are Carlos and Christy, sponsored in the business, or sponsored Carlos in the business, sponsored me by John Prather, Upline Elaine Chicanino, Uplines Emerald Stavanger Arti, and Diamonds Michelle and Tonica Jane. So volume was actually one of the easiest things for us to get in the habit of and master, because Amway and our mentors have made it so easy to implement into our lives. So the first point for us was being a prosumer. So 100% product use, meaning everything that Amway has to offer that we use or even weren't using before, we started using and switching over. So building confidence in talking about our products from using them, again, helped us build our confidence in talking about them, as well as edifying them, and the ability to identify needs in other people and recommend without being pushy. I know that's a hard point for a lot of people, is being selly, but when you're confident in your products, and you know them because you're using them, it's really easy to come off naturally, and just naturally recommend things that we do already. So, and making people aware of what's available, not only in DTMing, but making people aware of what products are available. So.
Yeah, no, and I think a great way to do that is the product checklist. Like, I think most of us, if not all of us, have probably seen that, getting launched into business. I mean, it really helps to break down what Amway has to offer, products people may be already using. And it really just helps to segment, again, products that you're already using or other people are using, really as a way to kind of figure out like what you can provide to them and what sort of solutions that we have available through the business. So another thing that we've done is definitely grand openings. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, to touch on another point of the checklist, like Amway created these great bundles, but even before that, our uplines, Michelle and Sonica, had already created like a starter kit so that we can report VCS. And so our uplines are probably our best resource because they were already ahead of the game and always on the cutting edge. But yeah, so grand openings are a great way to get in front of as many people as possible who know you, who want to support you. And it's a great opportunity to showcase what we have to offer, doing demos, explaining the benefits, product pairing, like what goes with what, and following up, which is something that, I think a lot of people struggle with, but following up with people after the grand opening was the best way to solidify the connection, and serving others is always such a fulfilling thing. So.
Yeah, and another thing, it doesn't just have to be when you start in business, right? It doesn't just have to be a grand opening. You could do product expos for different seasons, for different reasons even. Valentine's Day is a good theme for products, especially when you create bundles, gives people ideas around Christmas time, etc. So you just got to be creative, a little bit. But some other things that have definitely helped us is pace. We all have our respective pace meetings. Attending, being engaged, taking notes is definitely a great way to quickly learn about the products. And a lot of the times products that you may not even know about or may not be using yourself, on that next ditto order, you can include that because now you've learned about it. Now you understand the benefits, etc. So a lot of great resources, Amway education, ton of courses on there as well. Obviously your upline, like Arti is the queen of retailing, and I know has shown us and a lot of other people on John's team how to retail successfully. So definitely leverage your upline. There's a ton of tools and resources available, so you just have to take advantage of them.
Yeah, so thank you, John, for allowing us to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much, Carlos and Christy, for sharing with the team. Definitely some great tips. And like they mentioned, guys, I mean, it's all about, when it comes to, I'll reshare my screen so you guys can see these 9 core steps again. It's very, very simple. Just like Carlos and Christy said, it first starts with you using your products personally, using the checklist, like Carlos and Christy said, being a prosumer. And then the second step is creating customers. And there's a lot of ways to create VCS. There's a lot of ways to create customers, using grand opening, talking to family and friends, also, just sharing with people your link. I know, a few new partners that I launched, Scott, Jordan, Douglas, they all have created, plenty of VCS. I mean, well over, I think 50, 100 plus PV already just in their first month or two of VCS, just by simply sharing their website with people. Doug did a grand opening and things like that. I think Jordan talked to some of his family members. Scott just mentioned he sold some products today. So it's just about being vocal, getting your PV up to 150 and beyond is going to be key, because you want to start to duplicate that. The only way that you build a large business is by duplicating yourself. So if you just do 50 or 100 PV in a month, well, think how many people do you need on your team to hit 7,500? You need, 75 or more, but what if you do 150? What if you do 300? What if you do 500? That number goes down to like 15, 20, 30 people. So if you can get good at just creating a small retail business yourself, you can then start to teach other people. So again, very, very critical. Thank you so much, Carlos and Christy, because volume is definitely very, very important. And then the next aspect of business is networking, and it's, again, very, very simple. What are some habits that you want to create in networking? If you're a new partner on the team, the biggest two habits that you want to focus on when it comes to business is building a list and DTMing people. For those of you that are new in business, sorry, I kind of went all over the place, but starting people through the process and getting them started right, most likely is going to happen for your upline. Really, until you're an eagle. I mean, again, I would encourage you to step up as soon as possible and take ownership. But until you're really an eagle or beyond, maybe a little bit less than eagle, you're probably going to have your coach helping you in some way, shape, or form to get people started, take them through part of the process. So you really want to master within your first 30, 60, 90 days, how to build a list and how to drop the message. If you get good at these two things, again, you got to have common sense. What does it take to build a network marketing business? You need to build a team of people that products flow through. So you need to get good at networking, and you need to get good at sharing products with people and using products yourself. If you can do those two things really good, you'll make so much money in this business, but you got to learn the skill sets. One thing that I've learned in business that I would definitely encourage all of you guys to do is whenever as you start to book MG1s with your coach and your mentor, again, use whatever technique they're talking about, LinkedIn, social media, A and B list. It doesn't really matter. You just need to talk to people and become a DTM machine. But one big tip I would tell you guys, which I heard from Stage at Go Diamond, is anytime you have a meeting booked, you always want to have a meeting booked after that meeting. And the reason why is because if you're just banking on that one person to go through the process, what if that one person doesn't want to go through the process? You're going to be, if you have 3, 4, 5 meetings booked after that person, you're not very worried about if that person's going to go through the process, because you already know, okay, if this person's not interested, I got another person to talk to. If that person's not interested, I got another person to talk to. That was, I would say, the biggest thing I learned from Vishal, Sonika, and Devang and RT and Elaine in my first few months of business is get a lot of people to see the presentation. Because if I can get good at building my list, initially it's just going to be your A and B list, people that you know, but eventually you're going to run out of your A and B list. Like I was just talking with Douglas yesterday, who's first couple of months in business, and he's starting to go through his list, and now he's starting to transition to LinkedIn and social media. That's an ocean of people that he can start to reach out to, and same for any of you. So you got to start to get good at building a list of people. At first it's just going to be the people you know, but eventually you got to start to learn how to connect with new people. It might be in person, you might be good at talking to people, or it might be social media. You might be able to send messages out, but you got to find people to talk to, and you got to learn how to talk to them. And this is where, when you start to go into personal development, this is where audios, videos, and the meetings really come into play. Because a lot of people come into business not having much background in business. So you don't really know how to convey this professionally, but you got to get good at it. This is one thing that you have to master in business. You can't, unless you just want to make a retail business, which is completely fine. But if you want to build a large business, you got to learn how to talk to people. And it's okay if you don't know it in the beginning, but if you've been in business for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, or even beyond, it's really not acceptable for you to not know how to drop the message on somebody, talk to somebody. Maybe in person you're developing that, but at least on social media, like you got to start to take ownership over talking to new people. And if you're newer in business, use your coach, use your upline, let them guide you. But at some point you got to start to take over and go from there. And then another thing I would recommend is a power hour. At some point in your day, like for me, it's right when I wake up, or at lunchtime, I spend about 15, 20, 30 minutes to an hour messaging people on social media, reaching out to people on LinkedIn. It has to become a habit. It can't be something that, I do it a little bit today, I do it a little bit tomorrow, maybe I'll do it in 2 or 3 days. If you create a habit every single day, you're much more likely to create success. I remember I heard, I don't know where I heard it, but it's, the person that works hard is going to beat the person that has talent. There might be some people on this call who are super naturally people persons and might be really easy to talk to people, but I can guarantee you when I started this business, I wasn't like that. But because I went out and I talked to people and I messaged people on social media, I can bet you that I'll get more results than the person who's naturally good at talking to people, because I'm willing to develop that skill. And it's something that any of you guys can do. It's just a choice to actively put in effort to become successful at networking. And if you get good at volume and you get good at networking, you will become very, very successful in business. It might not happen right away, but one day you will hit that level of platinum, emerald, and diamond if you just don't quit. Because if you develop these skills, there's plenty of people that are looking. It's just a matter of if you're going to find them. And the last thing I want to wrap up with before I close out with a couple of last slides is, again, personal development. Reading, listening, coming to meetings, watching, watching videos and things along those lines. So I don't really have to go into too much. Again, these are just habits that you should be developing. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I don't have to talk too much about them. But one thing I want to get you guys to think about, if you're new in business, or even if you've been in business for a long time, is I want to ask you guys 2 questions in the realm of personal development. Number one is, do you speak and act like the same person you did last year? Or like you did before you got into the business? One thing that I remember hearing from stage, or I heard from an audio, is that if you're the same person today that you were last year or pre-business, it means that you're not reading and you're not listening to audios. Like if I see somebody, like for me personally, I can give you a perfect example, or I'll ask you the second question because it more relates to that. But the second question is, do you still relate with those fixed-minded individuals, family members, and friends that you used to connect with before the business? Now, I'm not saying that you have to lose friends in this business or you have to cut off people. Again, that's up to you. For me, that was very easy for me to, if you're not with it, I'm gone. But some people, you might have really close, like obviously family, you can't just cut them off, but you know what I mean? So, but you want to start to think like, if you like, for me, I'll give you a perfect example. About 3 to 6 months after I launched into business, I kind of, a lot of my friends had graduated, moved away, and 3 to 6 months after I started the business was the holiday season. So I started to see a lot of my friends and people that I hadn't seen since pre-business. And I remember so vividly when I was hanging out with them, there was just something off. I was like, man, like what they're talking about, the things that they're making jokes about, like about, girls and this and that. It was just like, man, like, I just don't relate to it anymore. Like, it's not like I didn't want to be friends with them, but it's like, I just can't hang around people like that. Like, I don't enjoy what you guys are doing. And I really want you guys to think about that. Maybe you've only been in business for a couple of weeks. Maybe you've been in business for a couple of months or years. And I want you to think, like, when you get around people that aren't super positive or, aren't in the business, and, again, some people that aren't in the business are business minded and positive, but a lot of them aren't. Are you still the same person? Like, would somebody tell you, dang, like you've changed, like, Carlos and Christy, like, man, you guys don't act the same. Or I see Robert McPherson, like, man, Rob, like, you don't seem like the same dude I knew a couple of months back when we connected. Or Lacey or Nick or Giovanni, do people notice that you're making a change? Because if people don't notice, then that's indicating maybe I haven't grown that much. Maybe some of these bad habits that I had pre-business are still lingering because I'm still relating to people that aren't at that level. If you want to go platinum, emerald, and diamond, again, a big thing I learned from Go Diamond is you got to be at a different level. You got to be at a different frequency. Think and Grow Rich talks about this all the time. If your mindset is at a 1 or a 2, you can't expect to go platinum or emerald or diamond. Your mindset has to be up at like a 6, 7, 8, 9, out of 10, if you really expect to move forward. And the beautiful part that I love about this business is it's all a choice. If you choose to learn, if you choose to educate, you will see results. And I'm going to go to the next slide as we wrap up. Let me stop annotating. And another thing, again, as I wrap up, this is a very common sense business. One thing, again, I heard this from stage and it hit me, because there's been points in my business where I've been growing and there's been points where I've been stagnant. And this is so true, is that there's only 2 reasons why you aren't growing in business. Number one is you're not doing enough work, meaning that it's a work ethic issue. Like you're not talking to enough people. You're not sharing your products with enough people. You're not, bringing enough people into the process, or 2, you need to improve some aspect of your business. Maybe you do a lot of MG1s, you do a lot of MG2s, but people don't come to the board plans, people don't launch. So work ethic, again, you might be able to increase it a little bit, but it's not really a work ethic problem. It means that you need help in terms of the 4 basics. You need help in terms of taking people through the process, or you need your coach to come in and model. These are some things that I realized, and one big thing that I don't know if I talked about it in any of these slides, but again, another massive thing that I love that I learned from Go Diamond is that you can't make anybody else succeed. At some point, the only person that's going to help you grow your business is you. Your coach is going to help you. They're going to give you guidance. They're going to love on you. But Devang and RT, Vishal and Sonika, they were not going to build my business. Maybe for the first few months, Vishal did a few meet and greets with me. maybe for the first few, months, Vishal helped me, Devang and Arti helped me with, products and selling and things along those lines. But after a while, it was up to me. Vishal's not going to spend all his time. He has hundreds and thousands of other people in his team that he can put time into. At some point, you got to get better. You got to up the work ethic, and you got to up the improve in terms of the skill set. And that's where it comes into play, taking out a bad habit and adding a good habit. At that point, you got to start to take ownership over that. Are you the same person you've been month after month after month, or are you making changes? Because as long as you're making changes, you might not be growing as fast as you want, but if you're growing, you're moving in the right direction. But if you're not, if you haven't had a candidate in the last few months, if you haven't had somebody launch in the past several months, or you haven't sold a product or things like that, it's probably one of these two things. It's either you've stopped trying, you're not doing it as much as you used to, or you just need to get better. You just need to learn. You just need to listen to a few audios and do it. It's not rocket science. Carlos and Christy just explained, we talk about it every week, so that's one of the things. And, another thing as we wrap up is, again, the biggest Kumar talks about this all the time. Vishal and Sonika, Devang, they've always told me this, is the biggest growth indicator for your business is the number of people that are coming to meetings. And this is something new people and old people and leaders in the business, every person needs to work on. There's 87 people on this call. It's every single one of our responsibilities to grow that number week to week. It's not just Vishal and Sonika, Nanda and Sangeeta's goal. It's not just, Devang and Arti, Parmesh, Bharti, Rajiva. It's not just the leader's responsibility to grow the numbers. If you want to grow in business, you need to have more people coming to these events. Because the biggest thing that I learned, again, is that it's not you. No matter how much effort you put into one person, they're either going to build the business or they're not going to build the business. So the one thing that I learned and I really took away was that I'm just going to find the people that want to build the business. Because if you introduce somebody to this business and they stick around for a few weeks and leave, it's not you. You weren't the issue. They just didn't want to build the business. There's no big deal. There's 87, 86 people on the call here tonight who saw value in this and come every week. All you got to do is just find people like that. So what you need to do, again, whether you're brand new in business or not, is you need to start setting goals for yourself, meeting to meeting, conference to conference, event to event. The virtual BBS, there's a BBS coming up on April 24th in the next 3 weeks. If you haven't gotten your ticket, I would get your ticket. It's only $25. And then you got to start planning, how many new people can I get to see that event? Because one thing I learned at Go Diamond is that, again, it takes the same amount of time for people to grow in business. Like, think of it. If it takes one shirt to dry 1 hour in the sun, let's say you have a wet shirt and it takes 1 hour for it to dry in the sun. How long does it take for 10 shirts to dry in the sun? Still 1 hour. It's not like the sun is going to take, okay, this hour is for shirt 1, this hour is for shirt 2. They all cook at the same time. They all dry at the same time. So you want to start to think, okay, how many people do I have coming to these meetings? How many personally sponsored people are at some of these meetings? If you're not tracking that, I would encourage every meeting. I have a paper right here. Every meeting I check, again, it's not like attendance or anything, but I check how many people from my team showed up. How many legs do I have that are showing up? Because that's how you can start to help them week to week. Like if I'm huddling with somebody and I see that they're showing up somewhere, some places, not showing up other places, it's nothing wrong. I'm not just going to kick them out, but I know, okay, I don't need to worry about them so much. Maybe they need some time to incubate. But if I see somebody showing up at every single meeting, if I see somebody like a Scott or a Doug, who's going out and making retail sales in their first couple of weeks, I know, okay, common sense, I need to put time into that person. I need to make sure they're at next week's board plan and training. I need to make sure they're at the conference because they obviously have they have a growth mindset. They want to move forward. They just need the knowledge. Somebody who's new in business has no idea how to grow this business. But if they come to 2 or 3 board plans and trainings, they come to a conference, they could go platinum in the next 12 months. I have a belief every person that I launch can go platinum in the next 6 to 12 months if they listen to what I say. Because I know how to go 7,500. I've done it before. If they just listen to what I say and launch a few people and start working depth, they'll be 7,500. But again, are you tracking how many people are coming to the qualifier? Are you tracking how many people are coming to the events? Because if you're not tracking it, it's not going to grow. And it's very, very simple. It's just a short burst of energy, 2 to 5 years of work, and you can live the rest of your life free. Is it worth putting 2 to 5 years of effort into helping people, showing them how to use the products? I would say it is. Ask Vishal and Sonika, was it worth the first few years of struggling and overcoming challenges to have been free for the past 20 years? I would say so. I'm sure there's people that launched the same day as Vishal and Sonika who have been working for the past 30 years. So I would say that Vishal and Sonika, win that battle, so it's all about that mindset. Are you tracking it week to week? Another thing I was going to say, I'm kind of running low on time. I'm a little bit over, but another thing that you want to think about is like, if you ever say this, and some new people say this and they're genuine about it, or even old in business, if you're ever saying like, this is the same meeting week after week, this is the same conference, this is the same, they say the same thing every time, that's a perfect indicator that you don't have new people at the event. Because as a person who's growing their business, I would want it to be the same every single week, because obviously I got excited for it. So if I introduce somebody to it, they're going to get excited. The goal of these weekly meetings is obviously for you to keep coming, but it's not for you to come by yourself every single time. It's for you to have new people at the event, because new people are going to get excited. And I guarantee you, if you had 87 people on your team coming to every single meeting, you would be fired up, even if it was the same thing over and over and over and over again. Why? Because this business is built on duplication. It's not built on the new fad. It's not like, oh, there's going to be a new technique next week. It's built on teaching a bunch of people to do the same thing. And if you can do that, you'll become very, very successful in business. So again, track the number of people at the meeting. I would say right now, go through the list of the participants and scroll through and start listing out how many legs do I have, how many people are on the call. It might just be you. It might be you and a couple of people, but take it upon yourself. That has to be your mindset every week. How can I add one more person to the training? How can I add one more person to the training? At Diamond Summit, how many legs are coming to Diamond Summit with me? How many people are coming? Because if you think about it, it'll grow. I remember the first few conferences I went to, I had nobody. First 2 conferences I went to, nobody came with me. But this 3rd conference I went to, I had 5 legs and 10 people with me, because I made a decision. I'm not coming to events by myself anymore. But that's got to be some of the things that you have to think about, is you have to start making those decisions. Because once you do it, you'll look back after 2-3 years and be really excited about where you're at. So as I wrap up, I'm kind of running over on time, so I'm not going to go into as much detail, but I just want you guys to think is like, sometimes people think so like, how am I going to hit 7,500 PV? Like, it's so much. I'm at 100 PV. How am I going to hit 7,500? One thing I would encourage you to do, and I'm not going to explain this as much as I'd like, but break down your goals into increments. 7,500 PV is just having 6 legs at 1,250, or 6 legs at 1,000 or 1,500 PV. So once you identify that, you're like, okay, now all I need to learn is how do you get 1,250 PV, 1,000, 1,500 PV in your business? How can I teach my downline to do that? It's very simple. You have some people go 300 PV. You have about 5 to 10 people in your team. You all teach them how to do PV. Again, some will do 300, some will do 100, some will do less, some will do more. But if you just have a small little team, now you think about it, how can I help 6 people create a team of 5, create a team of 10? That's how you go 7,500 PV. That's how you go diamond in this business. It's not one person sponsoring 1 billion people onto this call. It's how can you help a couple of people on your team become leaders? How can you help? That's the question that I want to ask you is, okay, you just need 6 legs that are doing that. How many legs do you have here today? I would say, honestly, it shouldn't take somebody, if they're willing to learn and listen to me, it shouldn't take somebody more than 90 days to do this for me. If they're willing to start right away. Now, some people aren't willing to start, so it'll take them a little bit longer. But if they're listening to me, if they're coming to the meetings and they're learning how to sell products and they're learning how to sponsor people, it shouldn't take them more than a couple of months to launch a few legs. I remember I was at Go Diamond and Ratty told me somebody on Gio's team, Kason Sada, he had 3 legs and he's only been in business for 2 months. Imagine he just needs to help a few of them sponsor people, get some volume moving through. He's going to be a new 1,000 in a couple of months, maybe even less. So imagine if you have 6 legs that do that. But again, then that's the question. How many people do you have at the webinar? Because I've seen Sada, I've seen Gio, I've seen Kason, I've seen Sean. They come week after week. So if you're not coming week after week, if you don't have people coming week after week, you can't expect them to do this. What if somebody comes once every 3 months? They're not going to know how to do this stuff. You got to find people who want to come week after week, and it's just up to you to find them. You don't have to invest, thousands of hours to teach them how to go 1,000 PV. You just have to find somebody who wants to do it. No matter how much you want to help somebody, if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. But you'll find a Carlos and Christy, Gao, Calvin, all the other legs, Janae, Maya. You'll find people like that, but you got to just, do the work. And I guess this was one of the questions again. How many legs do you have at each meeting? How many people are coming to the conference with the ticket, things like that? These are things that have to be in your head. You got to be thinking about it. And it's not a whole lot of work, but you just got to think about it all the time. So to wrap up, again, I want to wrap up with the same quote that I heard from the book. The fastest way to success is to replace a bad habit with a good habit. So the way that you're going to move your business forward and you're going to help people in your team, you want to start to ask yourself, what does success actually look like in this business to you? What are some habits that you need to start? And what are some bad habits that are sabotaging your success? Because again, as I'll wrap up and I'm going to stop sharing, the biggest thing that I took away from Go Diamond is that no matter how hard I work, I cannot make somebody successful in this business. There's no magic phrase I can say. There's no magic, process I can take them through. The past 60 days, I've launched 5 personal legs. I have a 6th person launching in a couple of days. The only reason why I've done that is simply because I've stopped taking the onus on me to make people successful. And I simply just made the decision that if they want to succeed, they're going to succeed. And I'm going to give them everything that I can give them to help them, but I can't make somebody successful. If somebody wants to watch TV in the evenings, if somebody wants to be on social media for 6 hours a day, if somebody wants to not share their website, I can't make you do that. All I can do is lead by example, show you how to sponsor people and be here to help. And that's all you can do too. So you shouldn't be so consumed with, oh, I haven't launched anybody in 3 months. Nobody's coming to the board plan. It's just because you aren't doing the things you need to do. If you do what you need to do, people will start to be attracted to you. And I can guarantee you that if you guys take this and just start to change one habit every single week in terms of volume, networking, you guys will be eagles. You guys will be at Go Diamond. I heard that the next Go Diamond coming up is going to be in July. And I heard that the qualifications, again, I don't know if Vishal has to verify this, but it's going to be 3 legs and 10 people. So I think every single one of you on the call that makes a decision can sponsor 3 legs and have 10 people in your group in the next 4 months. And if you do that, imagine being able to come and spend time with Nick and Steph, Devang and RT, Rajiv and Mini, Vishal and Sonika, Nanda. Imagine being able to spend time with them one-on-one. Imagine being able to hang out around the pool with a lot of the leaders on the BWW team. But you got to make a decision today to put in the work for the next 3 to 4 months. And I think if you guys do that, we'll have so many more leaders on this team. Again, take it upon yourself week to week. We should be growing this number from 86 people at the training to 100, 150, 200 in the next 3 months. And it's all of our responsibilities, and I believe that if we do that, what's going to happen is we're going to start to break off into other teams, Shringari team, Sajid team, Advaryu team, Permission Bharti. We're all going to have our own open meetings so that more people can show the plan. I love showing the plan, but I want to see some people on my team show the plan. I want to see, who I want to see show the plan? I want to see Giovanni show the plan. So Gio, you've got to get Eagle done because I know your mindset is there. I want to see you show the plan so I can bring, you have 5, 6 candidates at the board plan for me. I want to have candidates for you so that you can do the work and I can reap the rewards instead of the other way around. So with that, guys, thank you so much. I hope that training helped. And I hope it gave you guys a little bit of hope that this business is very simple. Don't think about the past as far as where you've been. Think about the future. All you got to do is help the next person, find the next person that wants to be successful. And you'll be a platinum, you'll be an eagle in the next 60 to 90 to 120 days. You just got to do the work. So thank you, guys. I'll pass it back over to Maggie and Vishal and Sonika for any closing announcements. But here you go.